Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Gracious good morning to you, good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It is Monday morning. Praise the Lord for Mondays. It takes me a minute to get it together on a Monday, and before I know it, it's Friday, and I'm celebrating my weekend ahead of time. So I have to get grounded again, and I know that. I'm grateful that I've done my taxes, so that's a big headache out of the way. Um, I'm apartment hunting, another stressor, but I have until uh, the beginning of the new year to search. But I want to get it done by July. And I say this because students are getting ready to transition out of the apartments here, so there's a window of opportunity for me. So I'm starting to look right now. Um, so there's some adulting to be done. I wanted to take this moment to apologize to my viewership. I know I've been MIA for a little bit. Um, there's a bunch of stuff going on as far as my personal life. I shared, that my best friend for 20 some odd years, had to be over 25. Don't know the exact date, but 20 some odd years passed. At the the beginning of the month. And so it took me a minute to regroup because all of the stuff from my mother's passing came right back. So, just had to get grounded again. And then little things are just irritating me. And I would say little things are irritating me, rightfully so. I need to take ownership of that and say rightfully so, because, stay with me now, I allowed space for it. One of the things that irritated me to the max is I was allowing somebody to pick my brain, so to speak, about, cultural aspects and the election. And little by little, I was thinking this person was making progress because they could say all the right words and ask the right questions. But little by little, that deeply ingrained sense of privilege, that deeply ingrained sense of entitlement, this deeply ingrained racism began to show itself. And I got more and more irritated. One of the statements was, that folks were really mad at me for DEI stuff. Now, it didn't mean me literal, it meant me as a black person. And it's like, this is some bullshit. So I had to very quickly clarify that. I've never been a recipient of DEI stuff. Everything I got, I had to fight tooth and nail for. And my family made it a point to have, there are several talks that black folks have to have with their kids. One is the Trayvon Martin talk, it's like, you have to present a certain way. And when you go in the store, you ask for a receipt and a bag. And, the whole nine. Now they ask you if you want a bag. Like I'm going to carry all these groceries home, in my arms. They give me the same courtesy that you give anybody else. That part. So I need to be clear about that. You know, and education was stressed in my genealogy. You know, there are several highly educated folks in my family. So that was definitely stressed. This is the key for success, education. And before you did anything else, you had to have darn good reason why you weren't pursuing education. Now, I shared that my grandfather was illiterate, but went on to become a foreman at the steel mill because he had the capacity to memorize certain things, and he did. He eventually learned to read, but for the most part, my grandma handled business. But the man did what he had to do, and he stressed because he knew what the lack of education cost him. That part. So got that conversation. Then I got, laughter and ridicule about my rage against this current administration and with this current administration. That was high comedy. I told the person, you never had to really deal with every aspect of this in your life. And the response to me was, I'm very well aware of my privilege. Are you though? Then the final nail in the coffin was this male, and I need to say this, white male privilege, in that an individual was being straight disrespectful, and I handled it. But as I was handling it, this particular individual felt the need to jump in, and some of you are not familiar with this term, so please forgive me. They need to be Captain Saberho, and they put on their cape, and they interrupted the conversation that I was having with the individual that was being rude. And because it was white male dialogue, there was a good slap on the back, and the disrespectful person was being rewarded. Now, I know I'm in my workplace. I can't get down like I want to check this. So I walked away, and I waited. Then I came back. I said, don't you ever, no more, again in your life, interrupt business that I'm handling. And that was the end of the conversation. About 10 minutes later, this individual comes back. I know I've done something to piss you off, but I don't like your delivery. You didn't ask what you did. Now all of a sudden you're the victim, and you don't like my tone. You're more concerned about my tone than you are about what you did. And I need to say this, when I told the person, don't ever, no more again. And I went grammatically incorrect, because I say things have more emphasis when you're grammatically incorrect. I also said, you don't get to complain to me about bad behavior when you just rewarded it. So, in their comeback, I don't like your tone. And my response to that was, I said what I said, and I meant what I said, and then I dismissed them. I was done. So a week goes by without me even acknowledging this person. Got nothing to say. We're done. I said what I said, and I meant what I said, because I'm watching you. Then a week goes by, I hear this person outside my door. I might as well go on and get this over with. Nope. Now I'm a burden. It's something that you need to do. I hear this. Then they knock on my door and they come in. And then they got conversation. And the conversation was, this is a short, not that they ask, what is it that I exactly did to upset you? They told me, after I told them, you jumped in my business. You ain't had no business doing anything in a conversation that I was having. You didn't offer to excuse me, nothing. You just jumped in and you took over. Not once did they ask, mind you. What they told me was, I didn't think it was that big a deal. Like whatever conversation I was having was not important. My positioning was not important. They had determined it wasn't a big deal. First you say, I'm a burden that you have to discuss. You got to get this over with because you can't sit with it. That was the exact phrase. I gives a damn. You showed me that whatever I was feeling at the time wasn't important. I brought that up. But your feelings are more valid. Now you got to have an accounting for it. See, people don't realize what they say. And, when this stuff is deeply ingrained, it shows up. So I have nothing to say to this individual. You showed me who you were. You told me what you thought of my opinion, in your words and in your actions. I don't wish you any ill will. Now, that is not that serious, but you can't be in my circle. I can't count on you to be a friend. Because you don't look at the big picture. You look at how you feel about certain things. And that's why you remain silent about certain things. And that's why you're content with a dysfunctional piece. As long as you don't have to think about it or deal with it, whatever, you're cool. You'll talk about it to the end of time, but you will take no actions because you're content with this dysfunctional piece. See, I am not an individual that you have to suffer. You don't have to be here, and I don't have to be there. And I made that abundantly clear. You will give my position in the same respect that I give yours. Or bye. So that's where I am. Like I said, no ill will. That part is really not that serious. But you have shown yourself. You've shown your entitlement. You've shown your privilege. And you give little consideration to the big picture. And for that, I am truly, excuse me, for that, I am truly sorry. That part there. And I hope at some point that the awakening happens, that some actions and inactions have serious ramifications.